creator Kenshin1913 along with
Mom.
And this is another Cooking with Kenshin1913. Today we're outside because we're going to be doing what?
Picking cherries for Cherry Cobbler.
Oh yeah, because we got ourselves a cherry tree back here. And we're going to pick some cherries since it's the perfect time.
Okay, we have a cherry tree here. This is actually a sour cherry tree. And we have to get a ladder because as you can see we picked a lot towards the bottom and now we're going to pick towards the top. And then we make various cherry desserts, cherry pie, cobbler. I made cherry jelly, cherry topping for ice cream or pound cake.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of work to pick the cherries, and you got to pit them. So you could actually buy them from the store. You may have to pit them, but you don't have to pick. You don't have to pick them.
Yeah. So we'll meet you back inside. We're gonna need about 4 cups of cherries, although we already have it ready.
Okay, so this is our cherries, and when you're pitting them, now you can go to a local farm. And as I said, these are kind of a sour cherry. They make the best kind of pie. So you look at it, make sure that it's okay. These have all been washed. That's 4 cups of pitted cherries.
Yeah. So pitting the cherries is probably the hardest work. I don't mind picking them. I just don't like pitting them.
Yeah, you get real juicy. But you know, there's nothing like having totally fresh fruit pie, tarts.
So on the inside there is a pit that you don't want to eat. Also, you want to check for any kind of like worms or anything like that inside the cherry. So what are the ingredients here, Ma? We got 4 cups of cherries.
4 cups of cherries.
We've got what else? Milk.
We have and lemon extract.
You mean almond extract?
Excuse me, I'm sorry, almond extract.
Then what do we have? We have sugar.
And we have sugar.
Flour.
Flour or cornstarch.
Yeah.
I use Bisquick to make the dumpling, but you can use flour, but you'd have to do a recipe for like a dumpling.
Yeah.
That would call for baking soda and so forth in it. So it's a real basic, easy recipe, and it's delicious dessert. Okay, we're going to put the 4 cups of cherries. This is a cup of sugar, about 1.5 cups of sugar, granulated sugar.
Now do you have to put all that sugar? Actually, let me ask you this. Forget about that question. Could you supplement it with like sugar substitute, like a?
You could. I'm not sure how. Sometimes some of the sugar substitutes are actually sweeter, so you might have to cut back on the sugar. So as you can see, the cherries make a lot of juice, and you want that because then that helps gel the cherries. So we're just mixing this really good, and then we're going to use almond extract.
Yeah, just a teaspoon or half teaspoon.
Oh, a nice heaping teaspoon.
Yeah, now the thing about this is almonds make cherries taste better and lemons make apples taste fresher. So Ma, can we do this with other fresh fruits if we had them?
You can. You could do it with blueberries. You could do it with fresh peaches. You could do it with apples. Really any fresh fruit that you want.
Yeah, since cherries are in season right now.
Then you wouldn't add, of course, almond extract.
No, you would add something.
You might put a little vanilla in it.
Yeah.
Okay, now we're going to add about 1/4 cup of flour, and that is a thickening agent. You could also add cornstarch if you want. Cornstarch is a little less, it's smoother, and it won't make your batter have any lumps in it.
Also, one other thing you want to do is get yourself a nice casserole dish, or as we're using a tin pan here, and preheat your oven to 350 degrees. Get it preheated. So Now we're putting in the flour, which will be the thickening agent. And you just gotta mix all this around. And it does smell really good. The almond extract is really the thing that makes it smell like a cherry pie. Because you get all those cherries and then you're like, oh, hot damn.
And the sour cherries actually make better pies and tarts and stuff than the Bing cherries, which are the ones that you see all the time in a supermarket.
Yeah, so now we're going to dump that in here with no grease. Don't worry about greasing up this pan because you won't get a lot of sticking on the bottom for sure when you're done. So you just kind of want to spread it all around. Maybe. And
you can see these are not the cherries are not bad. We had a lot of cherries, so we started pitting them, and I kept them in the refrigerator, and I didn't add anything to them, so they turn a little bit brown, but that doesn't affect the flavor of anything. Okay, now we're going to make the
dumplings.
The dumplings to put on top. Okay, I'm going to put in 2 cups of the Bisquick. And Bisquick is just a flour that has baking powder in it, so it helps things rise.
Yeah, so can you use regular all-purpose flour for this?
You can, but you'd have to look up the recipe because you want to get the measurements correct for flour to baking powder.
Now, may I ask you another question? Can we do this? Lately I've known a couple people who are gluten intolerant. What do you need?
A little sugar.
Could you use like other types of flour here and then add the baking whatever?
I've never tried it, so anyone who may be who needs gluten-free, this is 1.5 to 1. If you don't want it real sweet, you don't have to. So I'm putting about 1.5 tablespoons of sugar.
So yeah, I know a couple people who are gluten intolerant, and so it's kind of nice to try and at least think of other options.
I'm sure you can because we have my niece is gluten intolerant. She just found out this year, and we had a party and we made gluten-free chocolate chip cookies, and they had a rice flour in it, and they were delicious.
Yeah, they were very good. You can tell that they were made from rice, but they were still very good. So now, how much milk are you adding?
I'm going to put about 1/2 cup of milk, but we may have to add a little bit more because I usually just eyeball it. So, but I want to give you the proper measurements.
Yeah. And so yeah, one of my friends is actually she's kind of like getting off the gluten because she's got something going on with her intestines, and she kind of needs to not eat that stuff anymore. So it's kind of now it's another thing to try and think of. Like I know a lot of people ask about like, can you like diabetic friendly recipes too? This can almost be diabetic friendly if you kind of cut out some of the sugar and maybe add more.
I'm going to add a little bit more, so a little less than 1/4 cup. So we had 1/2 cup and 1/4 cup.
So almost 3/4 cup. And it also depends on how many dumplings you want to make. Like this recipe, I guess you could cut it in half if you needed to.
Yeah, this makes 6 nice sized dumplings. If you're making a smaller portion, of course you're going to cut back on everything, and you can make it smaller as well as if you're going to make it larger.
Yeah. So yeah, we've had requests to try and make like diabetic friendly meals. I think this one might not be too bad, especially since you're getting some natural sugars from the cherries themselves.
And if you like things a little tart, more tart, because these cherries are tart, just add half the sugar.
Yeah.
So what we're going to do is we're going to just plop this on here.
Put the mixture on top.
And spread it out a little bit.
And this you said should make about 6. It's kind of almost like the way that we're doing this is kind of almost like a chicken pot pie in the essence that you make a dumpling or like a bread type mixture that goes on top of the meat and the potatoes and all the vegetables and stuff like that.
Have we ever made that?
Not yet.
Oh, that's a lovely recipe for the winter time.
Yeah. So now we're gonna just finish up putting the dumplings on, right? And then we're going to put it in a preheated 350 degree oven for about 45 minutes, half an hour to 45 minutes till you get them nice and, well, you want them kind of golden brown, but you don't want them too brown because the dumplings have to be a little fluffy on the inside.
Yeah. Because then you're going to have this, a lot of this juice is going to get
Be absorbed by the
absorbed, and it's going to thicken
because of the flour.
But you want to have your dumplings so that you can add a little extra cherry on top of it,
or a whipped cream or whatever. But we'll show how to do that when we get back.
And then what I do here is I just sprinkle it very lightly with a little bit of granulated sugar, and then pop it in the oven.
Yeah.
So I'm going to show you that.
Just takes a little bit of sugar. You can do it with that hard, the harder sugar, kind of like what you put on like a creme brulee or whatever, if you want.
Yeah, and if you were doing, of course,
You can.
if you were doing apples or peaches, you could put a little bit of
Butter? No?
no cinnamon and a little bit of nutmeg, and that would taste delicious. Okay, we're gonna pop these in the oven.
And then we're gonna, like I said, 350 for 45 minutes, 30 to 45 minutes, and then we'll be back. Alright, you see, this is what it looks like when it comes out of the oven. If you want it to get a little browner, you can. So what we're gonna do is plate this up. As you can see, there's still some liquid, but it should be more congealed now, right, Ma? So let's put some on a plate and try it out. What you're gonna want to do is put get a spoon, nice big spoon, and just kind of break it up.
You can see how hot it is.
Yeah, very hot. We just took it out of the oven. One thing you want to do is, if you want to make like individual ones, you can make them in like ramekins and stuff.
Yeah, that would be a great idea, because you could put the cherry probably about half full or so. You could either put a dumpling on top of it, or you could even cut out, you know, the pie crust that you can buy in the store.
Yeah, oh yeah.
And put it on top.
That would be good. Now, one thing.
Now, you see this? We still have a lot of juice here. If you want, you could have added a little bit more flour or the cornstarch, and it may have made it
a little thicker.
A little thicker.
It really
but you know
all depends
what?
on how you
when
want.
this also dries up, because this is boiling hot.
Yeah, it'll congeal up.
It'll congeal up a little bit more.
But one other thing, what you might want to throw on there, you can throw some ice cream, you can throw some whipped cream. You can really do whatever the heck you want with this. So we're gonna eat it. All right, so here's our cherry cobbler. I don't want to tilt it too much because it's still liquidy. So.
And you do want some of the juice, as we mentioned. You don't want it to be totally gelled up, because with the cobbler, you want it to soak up the liquid.
Yeah.
Careful, because it's hot.
Really hot. Mmm. This is wet cherry is one of my favorite fruits. Is it really a fruit?
Yes, it is.
And that's why I love it, because you can make delicious things. And it's just so good, especially when it comes right from your own home.
All natural.
Yeah. So, a couple things I want to mention before we end the episode. One, if you want to buy a cool Cooking with Kenshin1913 apron, you can go to the SD link below. I'm selling them. Second thing I want to mention is it's getting closer to August 15th, and I'm going to be at the Connecticut Comic-Con in Bridgeport, August 15th through the 17th, 15th through the 17th. So, come down, see me and the guys in KR47. So, yeah, this has been Pete. This has been another 1913.
Enjoy and happy eating.
I will.